Before we begin, I want you to do something for me. If you've ever believed that a single moment can change an entire life, hit the like button. And if you enjoy emotional stories about second chances, forgiveness, and unexpected reunions, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end of this story, because what happened to me in that hospital room changed everything I thought I knew about fate. There are moments in life that split your existence into two parts. Before and after. For me, that moment arrived on a rainy Thursday evening. Until then, I thought my life was perfectly normal. I was 38 years old, married to an amazing woman named Sarah, and father to a 10-year-old daughter named Lily. We lived in a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing extravagant. Nothing extraordinary. Just a simple life. And honestly, I loved it. Every morning I woke up at 6, made coffee, packed Lily's lunch, kissed Sarah goodbye, and drove to work. Routine. Predictable. Safe. At least that's what I believed. If someone had told me that within 24 hours I would be fighting for my life in a hospital bed and meeting someone from my past whom I never expected to see again, I would have laughed. Life doesn't warn you before it changes. It just changes. That Thursday started like every other day. The sky was gray. The weather forecast predicted heavy rain. Sarah reminded me to drive carefully. I promised her I would. Funny how ordinary promises can become unforgettable memories. The day passed quickly. Meetings. Phone calls. Paperwork. By 5:30, I was exhausted and ready to go home. Outside, rain hammered the parking lot. The roads were already flooding. Traffic crawled through the city. I considered waiting for the storm to pass. But I wanted to get home. Sarah had planned a special dinner. Lily had a school project she wanted to show me. So I got into my car and started driving. At first everything seemed fine. The windshield wipers worked overtime. Headlights reflected off wet pavement. Cars moved cautiously. Then everything happened in seconds. A truck ahead of me suddenly lost control. I remember its tires sliding. I remember brake lights flashing. I remember gripping the steering wheel. Then came the impact. A deafening crash. Metal twisting. Glass exploding. Pain. Then darkness. Complete darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't sure where I was. Everything looked blurry. Bright lights hung above me. Machines beeped nearby. My body felt impossibly heavy. I tried moving. Instant pain shot through my chest. A groan escaped my lips. Someone noticed. "He's awake." The voice sounded distant. A doctor appeared. Then another nurse. Questions came quickly. Could I hear them? Did I know my name? Did I know where I was? Slowly, reality returned. Hospital. Accident. Injuries. The doctor explained that I had suffered multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and a severe concussion. I'd undergone emergency surgery. The next 48 hours had been critical. Critical. The word echoed in my head. I turned toward the doorway. Sarah stood there. Her eyes were red from crying. The moment she saw me awake, tears rolled down her cheeks. I had never seen so much relief on a person's face. She rushed forward and squeezed my hand. "You scared us," she whispered. I tried speaking. My throat burned. Only a weak whisper came out. "Lily? She's okay. Thank God." For the first time since waking up, I felt like I could breathe. Days passed. Recovery was painful. Every movement hurt. Sleeping was difficult. Eating was difficult. Even thinking felt difficult. But I was alive. And according to the doctors, that was almost a miracle. One evening, about a week after the accident, a new nurse entered my room. I hadn't seen her before. She looked to be around 35. Dark hair tied neatly back. Gentle eyes. Professional smile. She checked my chart without saying much. At first, I paid little attention. Hospitals are full of nurses. Most interactions are brief. Routine. Professional. Nothing memorable. But something felt strange. Every time I looked at her, she seemed oddly familiar. Not familiar enough to recognize. Just enough to make me wonder. She adjusted my checked my blood pressure. Recorded notes. Then she paused. For a moment, she simply stared at me. Not in a rude way. More like someone trying to solve a puzzle. Then she smiled. A different smile this time. A personal smile. Not a professional one. And then she asked a question that instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. Do you remember me? I blinked. What? She smiled again. Do you remember me? My mind raced. Had we met before? School? College? Work? I studied her face. Nothing. I'm sorry, I said. I don't think so. She looked down briefly. For a second, disappointment crossed her face. Then she laughed softly. I figured you wouldn't. Now I was curious. Who are you? She pulled a chair closer to my bed. My name is Emma. Still nothing. She noticed my confusion. 22 years ago, she said quietly, you saved my life. The room suddenly felt silent. I stared at her. My heart pounded. Saved her life? What was she talking about? I had never saved anyone's life. At least I didn't think I had. Emma seemed to sense my uncertainty. You were 16, she continued. I was 13. Then something stirred in the back of my mind. A memory. Faint. Blurred by time. A lake. Summer sunlight. Children laughing. Panic. Someone screaming. And suddenly, I remembered. Not everything. But enough. 22 years earlier, my family had visited a lake during summer vacation. I remembered seeing a young girl struggling in deep water. I remembered diving in without thinking. I remembered pulling her toward shore. The adults took over afterward. Paramedics arrived. Everyone focused on the girl. Eventually my family left. Life continued. I never learned her name. Never saw her again. It had been one afternoon. One event among thousands of memories. Yet Emma remembered every detail. Tears filled her eyes. You saved me, she said. My parents told me that if you hadn't jumped into the water, I would have drowned. I was speechless. She continued. For years, I wanted to find you. I didn't know what to say. The memory had become little more than a forgotten moment in my life. But for her, it had been everything. Emma smiled through tears. You probably forgot about that day. I nodded slowly. I'm ashamed to admit it, but yes. Don't be. She squeezed my hand gently. Because I never forgot. What happened next left me completely stunned. Emma told me that surviving that accident had inspired her entire future. The experience changed her. She grew up wanting to help people. She became a nurse. Dedicated her life to caring for others. And now, somehow, after 22 years, fate had placed her in the very hospital room where I was recovering from my own fight for survival. Neither of us could believe it. The odds felt impossible. Yet there we were. The boy who once saved a drowning girl. And the woman who had spent her life helping strangers because of that moment. Over the following weeks, Emma became one of my closest friends. She shared stories about her family. I shared stories about Sarah and Lily. We laughed. We cried. We reflected on how unpredictable life can be. One afternoon, Emma told me something I will never forget. "You know what's amazing?" "What?" "You thought you saved me once." I smiled. "I guess." She shook her head. "No. You saved me thousands of times." I looked confused. She continued. "Every patient I've helped. Every family I've comforted. Every life I've touched. None of that would have happened if you hadn't jumped into that lake." Tears filled my eyes. Because suddenly I understood. We rarely see the full impact of our actions. A small act of kindness can create waves that travel farther than we can imagine. Months later, I finally left the hospital. Walking was still difficult. Recovery would take time. But I walked out with a new understanding of life. Before the accident, I measured success through promotions, income, and achievements. After the accident, I measured it differently. Success became kindness. Compassion. Connection. The things that truly matter. Today, years later, Emma remains part of our family's life. She attends Lily's birthday parties. Sarah calls her family. And every time we gather together, we're reminded of a simple truth. You never know when a single act of kindness will change someone's future. Or your own. Maybe that's why you're hearing this story today. Because somewhere out there, someone needs encouragement. Someone needs hope. Someone needs to remember that even the smallest good deed can create a chain reaction that lasts for decades. I learned that lesson in a hospital room after a terrible accident. When a nurse looked at me and asked 4 simple words. "Do you remember me?" And in that moment, I discovered that the good we do in this world never truly disappears. It lives on. In ways we may never see. Until one extraordinary day. It finds its way back to us. The end.